carway.
Should be a good one.
And as you're driving, saying, hey, make it run better.
You could have a posse of waifus.
Starting off kind of strangely.
Slaying the land.
Welcome to the show.
This is insanity!
Taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week.
This info is pretty shocking.
Somebody's got to give an answer to this.
This is Augmented Reality.
You are watching my favorite channel.
I've not heard of them.
The Triple S League. Enjoy, guys.
Hey, and welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Augmented Reality Podcast, your source for news, leaks, and analysis of games in the gaming industry, coming at you live on YouTube and Twitch and archived almost anywhere you can find podcasts. Ash here with
all of the
Cyber Moon Tag as always. And what was that, Cyber?
No, I said the thing that I love screwing with scammers the most, the people who call you and they're like, you're wanted for a crime. And it's like, what crime? And you start questioning them on the details. It's like, well, I was in Europe last year for the whole year, so how did I commit this crime? And you just keep pushing them, and the responses get really funny.
Ah. Did this just happen to you? Is that why you're...
Yeah, a little earlier today. I was very annoyed. But anyways, sorry.
Yes, apparently I'm wanted by the FBI apparently for like tax evasion in Utah or something. I mean, I don't know how I did that, but yeah, clearly they're after me.
It's always funny when they forget to turn on. So if you get these garbage calls and you ever get them from like a number that's like very, very, it's obviously not like a number that you're normally used to dealing with. If you get them, it means that the scammer forgot to turn on their phone number spoofer. Because normally you get a number that's very close or similar to yours, like similar like area code and like even like the first three numbers before the set of four, and that's because they like if they forget to turn on their scanner, and then that's funny because you can like quickly just keep them going for a second, then look up where that area code is, and then you can just be like, because you can usually like get it pinned down to like a particular area or something. And then you can be like, I know you live in this city. We're coming for you. They hang up so fast. It's funny. It's seriously funny how fast they go. They usually like, oh, blank. And then they hang up really quickly.
You just pick up, just mention the biggest city in the area and you're probably close. Yeah. All right. Well, again, welcome to the show, everybody. Glad to see you all in the live chat. Lady Reaver, good to see you. Robin, Jasmine, Funky, and everyone else. If you're lurking, hello to you as well. Anyone watching on Twitch, hello to you as well. Say hi in the chat there as well if you like. And of course,
hello everybody.
Yeah, slam the like button. Oh, Terra K's here too.
Hooray!
How are you, Moon?
Oh gosh, I had an insane couple of days.
Yeah.
I feel so exhausted, but I feel so powerful.
Work's going
Got
well.
all the things done.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Good.
more or less.
So, slam that like button and slam the subscribe button if you haven't yet, and also check out our main channel. If you're new to this channel, our main channel, the Triple S League, has all kinds of other content, and we've got a new comedy video coming tomorrow. Features some funny stuff, including some artwork by our very own Moon Tag. So, yeah, we think you'll enjoy that. The preview that we gave to the patrons, they're loving it quite a bit. Funky in the chat says, I'll say it straight away, the comments in the CDPR sources are normal. You mean the comments in the source code? Yeah. So this is a small story. We weren't really planning to talk about it much, but there was a story today about comments left by developers in the Cyberpunk 2077 source code and them complaining about stuff. Anyway, people who work with, examining code, including Funky, who's our regular, and a big user of our Discord server, says this stuff is normal. There's nothing to see here. And I kind of, I'm inclined to agree. I mean, not that I don't work with it in that capacity, but I've done some coding work before and seen some code here and there. And I heard that there was like an entire massive section of Fallout 4 that was just commented out, and somebody at the top was like, Yeah, so-and-so really effed up. I don't know what he did here, so I'm just commenting this whole thing out, and I'm gonna redo it. And I find that hilarious. It's amazing to me that so many people can work on a project like that and have it at all be coherent and all work together at the end. I find it very, very funny. But anyway. Yes, Arturo's here as well. Glad to see everybody. It's a good night. We don't usually have as big of a crowd on the Wednesday, Tuesday show. But yeah, glad you're all here. All right. So tonight we're going to be talking about a number of things, including ways that game developers and game publishers are destroying games. And this really is not necessarily a fun topic, but it's something that it's something we need to be thinking about. It's something we need to, I believe, be aware of and think about philosophically. It kind of relates to the whole idea of what does it mean to own a digital good or to buy a digital good. If you buy a movie, say on DVD or on VHS, I mean, what are you actually buying? Like back in the day when VHS was a thing, what are you actually buying? Well, you don't own the movie. The movie studio still owns that. Do you own a copy of the movie? Do you own a license to the movie? Do you own the physical media? And as soon as that wears out, that's that. Well, I own the physical media, but I'm not allowed to copy what's on it. There's a lot of complications, and I know the legally it's... I'm not going to claim to understand the legalities of it, but thinking about it in more of an abstract sense, it's something I've been thinking about a lot today while thinking about what's going on in gaming right now. Now, I have in my hand here a copy of, this is a Super Nintendo cartridge. You can hear it right here. This is a copy of Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. And if I plug it into the Super Nintendo that's sitting on the shelf beside me, and turn it on, I can play the game, right? And I will be able to do that until the cartridge or the Super Nintendo wears out, right? But then what, right? I bought this copy. I actually bought it from my brother, but he got it when he bought the Super Nintendo many years ago. So I own this game, but if this falls apart, I don't own the game anymore. So, or do I? Or should I, Can I go to a ROM site and download it because I own the cartridge? Well, technically no, even though those ROM sites used to tell you could do that. So, anyway, I'm just kind of raising the question. I'm not trying to give an answer here, but this relates to what we're going to talk about now. We have a couple of stories to talk about. You see on the thumbnail today, we have listed there. DRM is destroying games, and also EA's laziness is destroying popular games as well. So let's get into the first topic, which has to do with Ubisoft delisting Might and Magic X Legacy from Steam. So the game's not available for sale anymore. By the way, I've discovered immersive reading mode in my browser, so it should look a lot nicer and cleaner on your screen now if you're watching it on the video version. A lot more clean than it has been before. So I'm going to use this going forward, and then there's not ads everywhere all over the screen. But and we've talked about why I don't use ad block. I'm not going to get into that now. Basically what happened is Ubisoft decided they were going to turn off the DRM servers for this game, Might and Magic X Legacy. Or is it Might and Magic 10 Legacy? I'm not even sure. But whatever it is, they decided they're going to turn off the DRM servers. Okay, this is a single-player game. It doesn't require an online connection except for DRM purposes. Digital rights management, if anyone's not familiar with that. Basically, software that makes sure that you're not using a pirated copy of the game. Now, there's a big debate about DRM in general in gaming, but anyway, Ubisoft turned off the DRM server, and the game broke. People aren't able to get... What's that?
Shocker.
Yeah. Now, why? And they also they also turned off the DRM servers for this list of games, and I don't know if these ones were affected or not. Assassin's Creed 2, Prince of Persia, Forgotten Sands, Far Cry 2. So some older titles, but anyway, titles that people own and probably still play. Now, Might and Magic Legacy is only 7 years old. People are still playing it, but people who play it now, they've purchased this game. They're not able to get past the first act of the game. It's just broken.
Oh. Hey.
And then now, Ubisoft was aware of this as early as June 1st, so more than a month ago. They apparently were aware of and are investigating the issues, but all they've done is remove the game from sale on Steam. That's all they've done now. So nobody else is going to buy this broken game. But what about the people that already own it and are trying to play it now, who have paid for it? They might have bought it last week, and now it doesn't work. Like, what are you doing, Ubisoft, and why haven't you fixed this yet? It seems to me that you're under obligation to deliver a working product to somebody that is, say I bought this copy of Super Mario World, and they released an update to it that made it so that it didn't work with my Super NES anymore. Obviously, that wouldn't happen, but let's just go with it for a minute. Imagine that the Super Nintendo had online connectivity and could get digital updates. So they update the game and suddenly it breaks and it doesn't communicate with the Super Nintendo anymore, so I can't play it. I mean, well, what then? Are they going to offer me a refund? Are they just going to say, sorry, screw you, you're done? Because they changed the product after these people bought it. They turned off the DRM servers, now the game doesn't work. So that's pretty scummy, and I hope that they are actually working on this problem, but why it's taking so long. Because it wasn't a problem with the game. And so somebody explain this to me who maybe has a better understanding of how DRM works. I don't understand how turning that off would break the game when it's a single-player game.
Because it requires this internet connection to engage with the product.
Yeah,
and that's another thing where it's like, it's a single player game. What the hell are you doing? Like, those old questions that we used to ask ourselves, well, if you're going to be stuck on a tropical island for the rest of your life, what 5 movies would you bring? What 5 video games would you bring? What, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now we see that that question doesn't mean jack anymore, because whatever you're doing, you're going to get to your desert island, you're going to plug in your thing, you'll be like, can't wait to play this. Turn it on. It's like, requires internet access to, authenticate your purchase. And you're like, no, I own it. And it's like, but you can't prove it. It's like, I figure that some version or like some like level of hell is like, you have all of the stuff, but nothing works. Like nothing can be turned on because it's like error, authentication error, error, authentication error, and you can never get out. Yeah. You have everything that you want, but you're just stuck eternally not being able to activate or use anything for its intended purpose.
Yes.
I did have something like that happen with some mobile games that I downloaded onto my phone. And so, of course, because I didn't want to, eat through all my data, I was like, okay, I'll only, use the data if I'm connected to Wi-Fi. So I, boot up my game, and it's like, hey, you need an internet connection to play this game. I was like, but I downloaded it already, at home. What the heck?
Well, they can't show you the ads if they don't have a connection. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's garbage. It's absolute garbage. That a single-player game requires a constant connection. But what I don't understand is that it's not that the game just doesn't work because there's some something where it's like, error, no connection, you can't play the game. People can play the game up until a certain point, and then it's broken.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why? That's what I'm having trouble wrapping my head around, is why it would break it partway through. So I don't know if someone has an answer for why that might be. Terror says, actually, in New Zealand, if you purchase a VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, music, tape, etc., media, you can legally copy it, download a digital version, or otherwise acquire another version freely without it being illegal. Yeah.
Hmm.
So and like
there are a few. There's a few countries where that's the rule. Because
I
it's
remember
like,
reading on software CDs like that, you know, it or in maybe like in the agreements that they make you sign or click that it's illegal to copy it except for personal backup uses. So you do have those options in some places, I guess. And obviously, you know, it'd be illegal for me to turn around and sell that, but yeah, so you do have those options. But I mean, how do I copy a Super Mario World cart, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess
Well,
obviously people do because they make ROMs of it. So I mean, there's a
Yeah.
way to do it, and so I could go download that, I suppose. But yeah,
You need a piece of technology. Like, you need a piece of hardware.
yes,
But this is one of the main reasons why. I mean, I've always been against that kind of DRM. I'm not against, safety or like, being able to verify purchases. And I'm not against online games. There's a couple online games that I really enjoy. But at some point, somebody needs to like give those things as free access or open up the code. If you're abandoning the code on a project or product, like, there's lots of online games that I love playing that one day are not going to function, and I'm no longer going to have access to my very, very important for me character. I was talking to Mooney about this the other day. It's like I very much value like two of my like game characters that are on games. Now, one is pretty much always available to me, but the other one is not. The other one is like, if you're not paying, if they're not paying the servers and the servers are no longer up, your character and all the history of that character is just gone, which is dumb because it's like, and again, that's only happened in a couple of places now, but it's happening more and more and more as like a lot, especially MMOs, is when these MMOs die, when WildStar dies, when Warhammer dies, it's like excuse me, it takes all the memories and all of the physical, the physicality of those memories in raw form and just destroys them. And it's like that's so wrong, and it's just bad.
I
It's
wonder.
just bad form.
I wonder if there should be some kind of caveat in the law. And I mean, I don't know all of the ins and outs of this, so I'm just putting it forward as an idea for thought. But yeah, that if you abandon a project for a certain period of time, have no intention of, moving forward with it, that you should release the source code open source for somebody else to pick it up and maintain it if they so choose. And I realize there's some complications there with like, okay, well, what if you have proprietary technology, proprietary technology?
I think if your product runs online, and I think you should be forced to like keep that stuff online. And if you can't keep it online, then it should be mandated that you be able to allow people to host that on their own, like, servers. Essentially, there was one of the old like superhero MMOs. I think it was City of Champions, got shut down, and so many people had played that for so long. Oh, Star Wars Galaxies, that's another great example. It's like people played those games so much. Those games were of so much value to those people, and then it just got taken away from them one day.
They're just gone now. Yeah. And I mean, this could happen. This could happen not just with MMOs, but clearly this can happen with single player games. This can happen with your entire Steam library if Steam went offline.
Now, there's a lot of companies and a lot of publishers who would verify your install because they want to do this thing called customer service. But it's apparent that Ubisoft doesn't give a rat's butt about your customer service. It's like, no, you will play some of our other awesome games. We don't care what you did. Sure, you paid for an experience that you haven't been able to finish, and it's not like we would actually require anything to do so. We just wanted to shut it down so that we didn't have to pay for this licensing fee.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably some ridiculously low number too. It was probably like 80 some odd, or like I'm guessing, but I'm gonna guess that it's probably below $1,000 a year. And they just decided to cut it off because why bother? It's only a 4-year-old game. Who's playing a 4-year-old game? Oh, what do you mean everybody? Like, well, not everybody, but like a lot of people.
Yeah, there may be a small number of people playing this game still, but they bought it. They have a community built around it. They have people who want to play together. The company that sold them that game, I think, has some obligation there. Some interesting comments coming in here. Dustin Pease says, you want to talk about Freaky DRM? The game American McGee's Scrapland can't play on any modern systems because it's classified as vicious malware. Hence it's not being able to buy on any storefront or disc. So the DRM coded like right on built into the game gets detected as malware by modern systems. That's kind of funny.
Wow.
I've never played that one, but I played American McGee's Alice. That game was so good back in the day. And then I found out that the guy, American McGee, I thought was a company name. No, it's a guy's name. His name is American.
Wow.
So, anyway, yeah, interesting. American McGee, and he was like, I don't know, the creator or writer of these games. I'm not even sure. TerraK says it should be mandatory to patch out the online requirement, release the server-side content to the public, etc. when you've abandoned your game. I could get behind that because, again, you've made your money from it. You're talking about a digital product that, in theory, unless every copy of it is lost, it exists on into perpetuity. It's not like, when you buy a physical product like a car, you buy that with the understanding that eventually it's going to wear out and break down. You don't expect the car company to maintain it for you for free. But when you buy a digital product, like if I buy a song, well, the song doesn't wear out. The media it's on might wear out. But then I could copy it to, I could make a copy of it and listen to it. So, yeah, if a song, like imagine a song label were to say, hey, we've decided to pull this song from circulation, so they release some kind of an internet worm that destroys every copy of that song that is out there. I realize, that's an absurd hypothetical, but let's say the technology existed to do that and they decided to do that. It's not unlike what these game companies are doing when they just shut down their servers and say, nope, you don't get it anymore. Done. Yeah, so
it's
lots of good comments.
Really bad.
But yeah, so this relates to our next topic though. So I draw your attention to the Titanfall 2 Steam page. Oh look, it's on sale right now, 80% off. I guess it's a Steam summer sale thing or EA summer sale. Look at that. You can buy Titanfall 2 Ultimate Edition 80% off, or the bundle 82% off. Here's what they don't tell you. If you try to play these multiplayer, they are completely unplayable because their servers have been subject to vicious hacks that have rendered these two games basically completely unplayable. And it's been like this for a couple years now. Years. Now, I don't know how that affects the single player part of the game. I don't know if if it affects that at all, but at the very least, the multiplayer, it has online PvP multiplayer, which I guess is a fairly popular aspect of these games, and it's broken.
It's not broken. It's being essentially held hostage by a bunch of hackers.
Yes.
Who have moved in, called that digital space their territory, and there's no appeasing them. If they don't like you, they don't want you playing, which is basically anybody and everybody, they will shut you down and destroy your ability to play the game. They actively use DDoS to attack a player's server from not from like, you know, their servers or like some other connection or something like that. No, they're using the game's server to basically crash them out and just send them thousands and thousands of requests.
Yes, I heard they were also like completely filling player rosters, so matchmaking, like you can't even log in, you can't even get a spot in the game. Like it's a mess. It's basically unplayable from a multiplayer perspective.
And I mean, we have talked about this before. If you're a streamer, do not stream these games, because the minute that you show up on the list, the feed, they will hunt you down digitally and just destroy your ability to connect. They will, if they can, they will hack your own computer and just like trash it, you know, completely trash it and try to brick as much stuff as they can. Why? Because it's entertaining for them or something. And so it's like, do not, under any circumstances, play these games.
And Tara saying Titanfall 1 is only multiplayer. Okay, I didn't even know that. Interesting. Yeah. So it's a very, very bad situation. And so basically some Titanfall players got so fed up with this that they decided to do their own hacking, and they did a hack against Respawn's new game, which is also in the Titanfall universe, Apex Legends. You may have heard of it. It's been somewhat popular. So they launched their own hack against Apex Legends and inserted links to a website asking EA to basically save Titanfall. Basically, so EA is sitting on their butts, not doing anything about the fact that two of their games are completely unplayable because of these hacks. And they're doing nothing about it. Respawn, the studio who made these games, doing nothing about it.
No, I've said for a while that you know, not a while, sorry. Just recently, I've been saying that it's interesting watching what's going on at EA, because they've scaled back all of their, you know, worst decisions as far as like real gaming goes. And what have they done? They're starting to accept the idea that, you know, single player games aren't dead, and that, you know, they should start listening to their fans. But it's this question of like, how much is like, are they still something that is capable of being saved? Because right now, I don't think so. And I think this really has kind of like hammered this home. If it's not the games themselves, then it'll be the experience, the multiplayer online, the connectivity, the DRM, or something is going to get in the way of you enjoying their products. Is going to ruin your day, just like, you know, them making terrible games ruined your day. But now this is just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse, because I don't think that I think the cultural change that was starting to happen there is limited to a fairly singular thing right now, and that's the introduction of like actual games that people actually want to play, made in the way that they actually want to play them. It's a big subject, but it's still more or less a singular thing. Whereas like the online connectivity, the security systems, like all this stuff, I still think that the bulk of the people that were in there making these choices before, you know, these idiotic idiots. I don't know what other way to say it or put it. These absolute clowns were in there going, nobody wants a game that makes any logical sense. They just want a game that tells them that they're bad, like bad people, and that they're just terrible, and that they should just, you know, stop trying. Like, and if you don't like our game, just stop buying it. It's like those idiots are still in control in clearly a lot of other departments.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, nobody seems to care that this game, the 2 games now, are having significant problems via hackers, and they're not willing to lift a finger to fix the root problems with that. So because they're less inclined to fix those root problems, when it comes to fixing future root problems in their actual games, I kind of doubt that it'll be there. Again, we'll have to see what kind of comes out here with what BioWare is putting out, with what some of these other companies are putting out. I don't think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be nightmarish. I still believe that, because yes, they finally have the creative freedom to make the game that they as the studio want to make, but they are not the same studio anymore. They're not even close to the same studio anymore. All of the core people that were responsible for a lot of those games, well, they're now gone. They don't have the same writing team. They don't have the same, high-end team leads for all of the, critical infrastructure of the game. So many of those people left. Many of those people left, and all of their creative minds left. And we saw what we got when we got, we're speaking about BioWare here. With BioWare, all of their creative masterminds left, and then we got Anthem. And it's like Anthem's gameplay is like, not very good. Close to terrible. Very close to terrible. And yet, for some odd reason, they thought that this was going to actually be the game to end all other games. It's like, what is wrong with you? So the root problems, the root causes for this, I don't think they're gonna fix that anytime soon. I really don't.
No.
I think that what we're seeing is like maybe a last gasp of the company, and maybe we'll get 1 or 2 good titles before it closes out, or maybe some of these companies may end up getting their freedom from them at some point, or maybe the whole corporate side of EA will be completely dismantled and will be all transferred over to a singular new studio like Respawn. And essentially EA will become Respawn by shedding off the majority of its weight, and basically just the people at Respawn are there now making the choices for all the companies, the mass company going forward. And this has happened before in the case of several prominent business foreclosures and company crashes in the last 100 years. There has been more than once where the company will basically say, okay, what we're hemorrhaging money all the time. Who knows what they're doing? It's like one of our places here isn't losing money every day. And it's like, great, call them in. So they call in the leadership there, and they're like, all right, you're in charge of the company now. We're downsizing everything. We've removed all of the other, companies. Now you're running the whole show. We're going to step back. You just, send us, share of the investments every month. And then that's it. So again, that kind of stuff can happen, but we'll see, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And my big question has been, is this Respawn falling down on the job, or is it EA telling them, no, don't fix those old games, just don't take your attention off Apex Legends? But we do know this, they were really quick to fix the servers for Apex Legends when those got hacked just recently.
Of course it would.
You don't threaten their golden goose.
No, and that's the only good game that they've had that provides a steady income from microtransactions.
Well, yeah. I mean, and it's disappointing because, I mean, I really liked Jedi Fallen Order. I consider it to be a very good game, a very good single-player game. That was, also from Respawn. So I hope that, I don't know, I hope they turn this around, or that EA, I don't know what I'm hoping for here. Just seems like such a mess. yeah, you got to protect those microtransactions. I mean, screw the people who paid for your old game. That is so 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, very disappointing. But just goes to show, again, I mean, or I should say, it raises the question of, what are you buying when you buy this game?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that it's something that should be explored legally, because I think, I mean, I'm not even sure if the laws have caught up to these always online things.
And it's such a dangerous idea. Like, the fact that the majority of our libraries in North America are now moving to online only is like, oh, that is such a bad idea. You know, it's like the idea of the concept of, like, you know, arriving on a world that has, like, you know, fallen under some kind of strange apocalypse, right? Some kind of strange apocalypse happened, and you know that you can see these buildings all over the planet, and they're enormous, but there's nothing written anywhere. All there is just a handful of black cubes, and the black cubes are everywhere, and they're all kinds of sizes. Some are the size of towers. Others are the size of, you know, a small house. Others fit inside a small house or dwelling or whatever. And you're like, what are these things? And it turns out that those were basically, you know, all of our devices, right? All the devices that we have, all of the technology that we have that's in the form of, like, some kind of, like, like the smartphones or the tablets, and even now getting to some of the computers. It's like, here is what all of their knowledge was on, but because we don't know how to start it up, or maybe you know, I'm so worried that the minute that we're like, we put all of our collective knowledge on, you know, computers, it's going to be great, the future is great, then we get a solar flare that year, and it completely knocks out all of our electronics for, like, you know, over a year. It's like, well, without any of those access tools to anything that's offline, oh lordy, we are officially and very much screwed.
Yeah, there is definitely
doo-doo.
Sorry,
Big doo-doo.
very big doo-doo. I think there's definitely, I mean, there's convenience to things being digital, but if you don't back it up to some kind of hard copy, yeah, there's a big risk there. There is a big risk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's gotta, you know, that was my mom's philosophy with math. Like, you've got to learn the multiplication and the division on paper, because what if there's a worldwide power outage and there's no more calculators anymore? And my response was always, okay, but I've learned it. I've practiced it 1,000 times. Can I just use a calculator now? Like, I mean, I think that she was right to the extent that, you know, kids should learn to do that stuff manually as well as learn how to use a calculator. So, why not both? Why not both? Why not Zoidberg? You are listening to the Augmented Reality Podcast. We love seeing everybody so active in the live chat, and if you want to keep the conversation going after the live broadcast, we welcome you to join our Discord community. You can find the link in the description below. It's a place where you can chat with us and other Triple S community members. They call themselves the Triple S Legion, about all the things we love to talk about. Stay up to date about everything we're doing here at the Triple S League. Click the link below to join, and be sure to say hi to us in the welcome channel. All right, a couple weeks ago, we talked about EA reviving an established IP. We were wondering, which IP is it they're going to butcher next? Well, we think we know what it is now. Looks like
it's been pretty much confirmed that it's Dead Space, which we kind of figured. Like, we kind of figured, but again, there was no solid proof, so we couldn't, like, confirm. But and even with the show that I do with Max, we were fairly confident that it was going to be Dead Space. it made sense on so many levels, and it was one of their most favorite things, and it was one of those things that's being screamed for to be played by the fans, and it's a fairly easy and cheap game to make. Like, in comparison to some of the other games that they make, obviously not nearly as much, but this one's really cheap. Like, I mean, well, not cheap, but it's again, it's compared to the FIFA game, compared to, any of the big, Titan games that have come out in the past 5 years. It's an easier game to make. You can pull it off with a smaller studio, especially if you're going FPS shooter, and you just inject a bunch of these horror elements into the really good narrative crafting, and you're done. Like, there's not that much to it. You're not designing 50 million interactable items. You're not designing or trying to maintain an extraordinarily complex multiplayer system, PvP system, and whatever. It's like you don't have to do almost any of that stuff. You can tell just a very simple narrative, and if you do it right, it will be very, very, very. It'll be received very well. So yeah, it was just one of those really good ones that, I mean, they would have been crazy to just leave it on the shelf still.
Now I'm reading in various news stories, it's saying that there is a Dead Space remake, and others are saying there is a new Dead Space game, and some are saying both are happening. Do we know anything concrete about where the truth is in there?
Not right now. I have an idea of it, but again, it's one of these things where it's like so little information has come out about this right now that I wouldn't want to say it and then have it be, incorrect.
Mm-hmm. So the one thing that I think is fairly certain is it looks like it's being made by Motive Studios, whatever is happening, and the director of Assassin's Creed Valhalla has joined that studio. So that could be a good sign. Valhalla was, again, not having played it myself, but reports from those who have played it, minus the garbage microtransaction stuff that they added later on.
Which the original team
really
never wanted to add.
Right, yeah.
The original team was really upset about adding that stuff in, and they were told, excuse me, our analysts know way more than you do, pleb. Now get back as we ruin your game and all of the fandom and support that you've built up over decades. Oh, and by the way, if this, peeves anybody off too much, then, I mean, it's just going to be your fault. We're just going to close down your studio. It's like, imagine that being what you face every single day. It's terrible. It's absolutely horrendous on every level.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we're running short on time here, so.
Yeah, well, we have... Wow, what else did you want to talk about? I've got a little bit about the new Nintendo Switch OLED.
Well, I'll let you talk about that just as soon as I talk about this Asmongold thing.
Okay,
so,
you do want to talk about the Asmongold. Okay.
Yeah. It's. I think this is one of these key moments in gaming history that is very, very, very important. Again, we've talked about Asmongold before. How, again, some people like him, some people hate him. He's, for the most part, very popular, and he just capped out at 250,000, just under 250,000. Just under 250,000 views, 245,000, 246,000, little numbers. The point being that he got more than both MSNBC and CNN on the same day. But no, seriously, he's showing that there is such an interest for highly rated streamers who don't do the normal stuff. There's one thing that Zach does not do, and that is whatever is hip and popular and current with the current gen of streamers. He's doing things that people don't do, and all the other streamers don't do, and he does it in a very interesting way, and he's probably one, like I said, he's probably one of the most impressive entertainers of this generation for sure. The guy's been in the top charts now for several years after having taken a lot of breaks, a lot of extended breaks. Like, he'll just stop streaming for a whole month, and he does that to kind of like, I feel he probably does that to like get his head sorted back out. And then the other thing he doesn't do is he doesn't advocate or participate in like this hero worship that you see a lot of. And so yeah, it's very interesting. At any rate, one of the developers from Blizzard, one of the leads at Blizzard, on Twitter called him an asshole. And the guy who prompted that response from that developer is somebody who's routinely gone after Asmund before and has routinely tried to have him be canceled or whatever, because they hate him and they have a very small following. And whenever they get some pressure put on them, they immediately go, "Oh, here's my PayPal. I'm going to go hide." And so they make money by stirring up. But they're literally, I think they do it on purpose, allegedly. I think they come up, they poke a bear because they know that people are going to sit there and cheer them poking the bear, and then they'll be then when he's hightailing it away, they're like, "Oh, you did such an amazing job poking that bear," and there was more than just this guy, right? There's more than just this one guy who elicited this response from one of the Blizzard devs, and the dev was an idiot himself. I mean, he hid his account almost immediately. And again, was he getting dogpiled? I don't know. I'm sure there's lots of fans that take him too seriously, but Asmund Gold came out and said very clearly that he's like, "So I heard that this dev called me an asshole." He's right. I am an asshole. I'm very hot-headed. And he talked very briefly about the fact that, yeah, he probably is autistic on some level, but he doesn't care about that. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want to get tested. He doesn't want to get, figure that out because he's comfortable with who he is. For me, why did I go get diagnosis? Because I didn't know what was wrong with me. I knew there was something wrong with me, and I was extremely uncomfortable with myself, and I was extremely completely unable to connect with people on a deep level. So I had to know what was wrong with me. Was I crazy? Was I insane? Was I a psychopath or a sociopath? Like what was causing me to never be able to connect with people on some level? And then as soon as I understood it, things got so much better for me because I understood the confines of which I was in. That I understood what was surrounding me, what was preventing me from making communication, and I was able to do it. Zach doesn't have that problem in that way. The guy clearly is autistic when it comes to information gathering because he can glance at his chat where there's 100,000 people typing messages in. He can memorize 3 or 4 conversations and then immediately respond to them exactly, quoting them almost verbatim. That is an insane level gift that there are a handful of people that can do that, and he is one of them. And he does it really, really well. On this new game, he started playing this new game, this part of the story. He had people explaining to him how to fix the problem that he was having with some UI stuff, and with making his character harder to spot and follow by all these stream snipers that he was up against. And all he did was glanced at what people had typed out that was scrolling past so fast that you and I could barely understand what was going on. And he'd go, "Oh, okay, I see." And then he went into the menu and he was able to fix it right there. On the spot. First time he was playing the game.
That's really interesting.
That's his level. So he says, of course he's an asshole. It's his. That's why people watch him, is because he doesn't pull his punches. He speaks very directly, and and
Well,
as,
he's authentic. He does what he
Mhm.
wants, and he doesn't give a crap what others think.
And he pointed out that this dev was also an asshole because this dev didn't create anything that he works on.
I thought it was really funny when he was like, well, maybe if this guy did his job properly, I wouldn't be an asshole all the time. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yes.
That was really funny, though.
Well, no, that's a very, very accurate thing and very, very true. Like 100%. Like if this guy would do his job right and wouldn't ruin this game that Asmongold loves, he would feel, he would probably be less of an asshole towards them. And they are ruining their products. They're ruining multiples of their products. And they're doing so why? Because they don't know what they're doing. And that's the thing. That's the issue. That's the problem. Is that the developers don't actually know what they're doing. They're constantly screwing things up in World of Warcraft, in Diablo, in all of the games that we used to love. They don't even have an RTS department anymore. And this is Blizzard. This is the people who essentially like perfected the concept of what an RTS was. People still play StarCraft 1, StarCraft 2 on professional levels all the time. And yet somehow they can't figure out how to make more of these games. They can't figure out how to balance things. They can't figure out how to keep these games in the mind's eye. They can't figure out how to evolve this stuff.
You can't make those MTX dollars.
Yeah, well, and the thing about this is that he was pointing out is that these guys, all of these people who call him an asshole, who hate him at Blizzard, who are disgusted with the fact that he's the number one WoW streamer in the world, that he's oftentimes the number one streamer in the world. They despise him so much, and yet these people who call him out on his stuff and say that, oh well, he's this, he's that, he's this, he's that, which they have no evidence for, and there's no particular scenario that they could point to without heavily pulling it completely out of context and then snipping out words and putting words here or there or the other thing, and they do that all the time, right? And they take this, but these same people didn't create anything that they work on right now. They're only managing it. And the people that did create it, the giants that actually created this company, these guys are standing on the shoulders of these giants, condemning essentially who these people are. He had this very interesting line. He's like, if these people didn't ever do anything for themselves, they didn't ever create anything for themselves, they're only running off of what other people created. Oh yeah, and if any of the people who actually created this stuff worked at the company now, they would be fired for being problematic, which many of them were. So the guy who created and ran Diablo 2, especially, who refined Diablo 2, was kicked out of the company ages ago. And this young punk came in a few years ago and called him a piece of POS. And he's like, F that guy. That was a tweet that he did. F that guy. He doesn't know what he did. He doesn't know what he's doing. And then this is the same guy who then makes Diablo 3 basically unplayable. Oh yeah, and there's a giant store system in it where you can buy stuff with real money. And again, they just run it into the ground. It's like, this is part of the problem. This is a major problem because, again, these people, they'll sit there and they'll claim that they're so superior to you. How dare you give them any advice or tell them how to do anything? Don't you know who they are? And in reality, they didn't ever create anything. And he also made another great point in that it's, he's kind of dickish to these people because they are destroying the thing that he loves. And I have to agree with him immensely. It's like I have great memories and great moments tied up in some Blizzard games that I don't feel like I can actually enjoy this stuff anymore because they're so negative. They just hound nonstop, and they're writing terrible stories that are either very obvious or aren't really thought through. They're definitely not like, done well, and it's just it's just so sad.
This is kind of a common thread through our entire show today. Has been this, these things that are getting destroyed in various ways, and what do you do about it? You've already put your money in, but what can you do? But anyway, yeah, I thought his response was really good. He was like, I don't care what people think of me, and that is the sign of somebody who is actually secure in themselves. It's very true. I wish more people would be like, it's like, oh, that person over there doesn't like me, I must raise a ruckus on Twitter about it. Like, why? Just live your life. Stop.
Why bother?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
somebody.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh yeah, it's an interesting moment, and I think that it's one of those moments that I feel are really, really important for the culture of gaming, because he called these people out hardcore. And again, he said he doesn't want these people hunted down. He doesn't want them fired. He doesn't want them, not for this. He wants them fired for being bad at their job. He wants them to be to sit down, and he would be happy if they actually just focused on doing their job and doing it well. That, like, he doesn't want them fired. He just wants them to start improving on what they're doing, or be replaced with somebody who actually gives a darn about the game, and who's not willing to like jump down somebody's throat the second that they can.
All right.
Some comments from the chat. From Derek K. The only series that EA owns that they haven't ruined are the ones they just kill off before they have the chance to F them up. And
that's so, it's just kind of, it's almost, I mean, the meme of dunking on EA for this stuff is worn out years ago, and yet it's just still true.
It's just the meme that doesn't die. And then we've got another comment from Blue Arrow. I really hope they don't screw up Dead Space, arguably one of the greatest horror/survival games. It's true. If it's so simple, like, you would hope.
I've never actually played any of the Dead Space games.
I did a long time ago. One of the earlier ones.
Yeah.
I assumed that it was a run and gun game, and so I ran into I can't remember which one it was, but I remember like running into a room and like just trying to like fire off and kill this big monster who you had to hide from. And I was like, wow, I just got destroyed. I thought I landed all my shots. How do I survive this? This is so weird. And I'm like, I'm getting seasick. I'm going to stop playing.
Yeah.
It was one of those interesting ones. And I mean, I do like a good horror game. Like, I think that Outlast game, I think that was brilliantly done. Alien Isolation, I think, was brilliant. I really wish that they had continued in that series. I think that these games are well made and deserve to be made. More of them deserve to be made because they're cool. So I'm very hopeful that this game is going to do well and that it's not going to be a giant POS because people's egos are getting in the way. What's that term that we there's that new company that started out from all of the ex-Blizzard RTS staff. Not all of them, but like their entire company is comprised of ex-RTS people from Blizzard. And
brain drain?
Yeah, it's a brain drain, but they have this new company has a new motto, and it's like reason before ego.
Yes.
It's such an insult against the corporate types who put these people in control, who frankly have an ego. They say, well, we understand what the players want, but they really don't know what they really want. We know way better what they actually want. So if they want to continue to play this game, they're just going to have to let us educate them on how to, play the game and how to be happy with it. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, you
'Cause
are,
So arrogant.
you are
know
very
what's
full of
best.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Don't you guys have phones?
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a couple more there?
One more from Mad King. I hope for a remake and that they don't mess it up or change much. And Sword Sister, hi Sword Sister. When are we going to stop hoping that things won't suck and start having some sort of agency or influence in this thing? This is very true.
Well,
it's-
this is also really tough though, because the big games that drive a lot of the industry, like of course we as individuals and gamers can in fact impact things the way that we want them to, but it's hard because for every one of us that actually cares about the the scope and depth of the game industry, there's 50 people out there who pay $400 or $500 in FIFA microtransactions every year, and their gaming library consists of FIFA and COD, and that's it.
And they've just accepted the way things are, and that's
Yeah,
that's
and
how it is, yeah.
they're not interested in new AI algorithms. They're not interested in a new deeper experience. They're just there.
Yeah.
They're just there.
It is,
Yeah.
yes, because I mean the mantra is vote with your wallet, and we can do that.
Yeah.
It does have an effect, but the effect is muted by the fact that companies can get away with absurdly predatory practices that make them a lot of money, and those of us who fight against that are in some cases we're just not strong enough. There aren't enough of us always. But that's why we want to try and, through things like this podcast, bring attention to certain things. And so that's why we talked about the topics we did today at the beginning.
And a lot of these game companies, it's just a natural progression. And you get this stuff, and these companies and things, they grow, they develop, they're cool, they're edgy, and they're interesting, and then they eventually become corporatized, and then they eventually become whatever. And it's so weird. It's so weird going to the skate park or going to like just anywhere where there's young people-ish or the still the somewhat sort of younger millennials, and they're like tagging the park with like they're tagging the park. They're spray painting on the park. It's like, we're such rebels, look at us. I'm like, oh, what are you spray painting? Is it something really edgy or dark humor or F the police, or stand against the machine, or rage against the machine, or any of this kind of stuff? And they're like, no, it's in fact this completely corporatized slogan that's being used by all these mega corporations to tell us exactly what to think. And I'm like, so you guys doing that as like a joke? No, this is what we believe. It's like, oh, so you're not rebels for the cause. You're not free thinking, edgy people. You're just corporate drones. It's like, wait, what? No, we're not. We hate the corporations. Then why are you spray painting their dang logo on the thing? Like, you're doing it because you believe in it. You're not doing it because you think that you want to argue about it. You're just doing it. Ugh. So sad. That's what punk has become. Is corporate,
Well, it's not punk
approved.
Anymore. It's not punk
Yeah,
anymore.
well, it's not punk anymore, but the punk people who think they're punk, and they're not, they're just corporate drones, have no idea that that's the case. So again, what we have in the future is we do have good options. We do have good directions from these companies that are coming up that are challenging the matter, and yeah, not the CDPRs. Like, I mean, that was such a disappointment. I'm talking about the other indie titles, the other indie studios who are making stuff that is not approved of in by these big corporations, and they're doing that, and they're becoming the edgy thing. And I got to tell you, their content sure makes me laugh and sure makes me enjoy those games a whole lot more than what these other people and tycoons are.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a handful of big studios that have almost 1,000 people working at them that haven't lost that, and that's like Larian Studio right now. Everything I see coming out from them. Oh, and by the way, they've got a big event going on Thursday, and so we're going to try and catch that on Thursday. I hope we can catch it. I hope we can stream it live. But they've got another meeting. It's not major content, but it is an improvement to their overall content, and it's this constant feedback, this constant interaction that they're getting back and forth between the community. That's what I highly value, because at least they're listening. At least they're listening. So
for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyways, continue anything. I gotta run to the back.
Well, really, we're gonna wrap up right away, but just really quickly, Nintendo Switch OLED edition surprise announcement came kind of out of nowhere. It's not a Nintendo Switch Pro. Just want to make sure everyone is aware of that. Don't go rushing out to buy it thinking it's a Switch Pro. It's not. Looking through the chart, comparing it to the Switch Standard, it is slightly bigger. It has a 7-inch screen instead of the 6.2-inch screen, and it's got the OLED screen, whereas the regular Switch has the standard LCD screen. But still, it's 720p is the handheld resolution. It'll output to 1080p, but basically it's not. I see four differences. It is slightly bigger. It's got the OLED screen instead of the LCD screen, which is only going to matter if you actually play it in handheld mode. It's got twice the internal storage, so that's nice. And it's got a bigger battery, so it'll last longer, again, in handheld mode. So that's about all that is... That's about it. That's what's different. That's not bad.
What about
the
battery?
The battery?
Yeah.
The battery is bigger. The battery will last longer.
Okay.
But yeah, it's as far as I can tell, it's got the same processor and graphics card GPU as the standard Switch. And I can't tell you what that is. It just says on all three versions of the Switch, it just says NVIDIA Custom Tegra processor. So
sounds like it's mostly cosmetic.
So Funky's saying same battery life. Well, according to this chart, it's supposed to last longer, but I mean who knows what that actually means? Its battery life is variable depending on usage and what you're doing with it, and et cetera, et cetera. So, so it's not that exciting, really. It's not something that's going to. I mean, they didn't even bump it up to 1080p on the handheld screen. So it's only worth even looking at if you are big on playing your Switch in handheld mode. And I know for me, I don't do that ever. It's always plugged into my TV. So, and the Joy-Cons are exactly the same. I wonder if they've even.
So there's no improvements at all, basically.
Well, I don't know if they've maybe fixed the Joy-Con drift problem or not. I don't know that, but you can switch and swap the Joy-Cons between the standard and the OLED model. They're the same. They're the same controllers. Oh, the other thing that the OLED Switch has, it has a built-in Ethernet port. So if you want a sharper connection for online gaming with it, then maybe it's something to look at. But really, it's not that exciting in terms of an improvement over the standard Switch. I definitely won't be rushing out to buy one. So. Terror, I don't know if they fixed the stick drift or not. I would hope they fixed it for at least like the Joy-Cons they're making now. I would hope they would have fixed that by now, but I don't actually know.
Hmm.
Anyway, that's it for the show today, but I just want to ask one thing of all of you who are listening. If you appreciated this show today, if you got something out of the content, would you share it? If you have, a community or a Discord server or a Reddit where, we don't want you to, we're not asking you to go out and market us, but if you just have somewhere where it's like, oh yeah, these guys talked about this topic that and it was interesting or something like that, we'd really appreciate that. This channel's not been growing much. Again, our main focus is still the main channel, Triple S League. Triple S podcasts, we started this as a side thing, and it is what it is, but if you appreciated this content, we'd appreciate you sharing it, also slamming that like button and subscribing, and check out our Discord server if you haven't yet. If you're not yet part of the Triple S Legion, you can check out the Discord server. You can find the link to that in the description below, and it's a great place where you can hang out with lots of great folks. So that's it for the show today. Special thank you to our Patreon supporters and our channel members, many of whom were in the chat tonight. And if you saw their names in glittering gold and silver at the top of the screen throughout the show, really appreciate all you folks. You help us more than you know. And also everyone who listens, subscribes, comment below if you are listening after the fact. Really, all of that stuff helps the YouTube reach. But mostly, we just hope you got something out of tonight's show. So, appreciate you being here with us. And we will talk to you again very soon. Bye-bye.